Here is the thing nobody ever says out loud. The people who cry most easily are often the ones who have been through the most, and the ones who are brave enough to stay open anyway. Not weak, not unstable, not too much. Open, in a world that has been telling them to close for years. You have probably been told, in some way or another, that your tears are a problem. I came across something recently that completely reframed how I understood this, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. Too sensitive, too emotional. You take things too personally. You need to toughen up. And somewhere along the way, part of you started to believe it. You started apologizing for crying, hiding in bathrooms, waiting until you were alone in your car to let it out, feeling genuine shame about something that is, at its core, one of the most honest things a human body can do. And here's the paradox that nobody names. The people who told you that your feelings were too much, they weren't measuring your depth. They were measuring their own discomfort. Your tears made them feel something they didn't know what to do with, so they handed the problem back to you, and you carried it as if it were yours. You feel things deeply. You always have. A song comes on, and it goes straight through you. A movie moment that no one else seems affected by leaves you, with tears running quietly down your face. Someone else's pain lands in your chest like it's your own. You pick up on things. Subtle shifts, unspoken tensions, the feeling in a room that hasn't been named yet. You are not imagining these things. You are perceiving them, with an instrument that is finely tuned in, a way that most people never develop. And for years, you have been told that instrument is a flaw. It is not a flaw. It is a gift, and it is time to understand where it came from. Psychologists have a term for people with heightened emotional sensitivity, highly sensitive people, or HSPs. Research shows that roughly 15 to 20% of the population is born with a nervous system that processes emotional and sensory information more deeply than average, more neural connections, more time spent processing before responding, more capacity for empathy, for beauty, for grief, for joy. Not a disorder, a different wiring. But here is what the research also shows. When a highly sensitive child grows up in an environment where their sensitivity is met with criticism, dismissal, or shame, something shifts. Their nervous system learns that feeling deeply is dangerous, that emotional expressiveness has a cost, that the safest version of themselves is the compressed version, the one that manages, controls, hides the depth, so no one can use it against them. This is a form of emotional neglect, not the dramatic kind, but the quiet kind. The eye roll when you cried, the "you're fine" before you had finished saying you weren't, the unspoken family rule that feelings were kept private or not expressed at all. Your nervous system got the message, and it started building walls around the very thing that makes you remarkable. There is also something called nervous system dysregulation that develops in people who spent years suppressing strong emotions. The feelings don't disappear, they go underground, and then they surface unexpectedly, in moments that seem small because they are carrying the weight of everything that didn't get to come out before. The tears at a commercial, the cry in the shower for reasons you can't name. That is not weakness. That is your body finally releasing something it has been holding for a very long time. Bessel van der Kolk wrote that the body keeps the score, and your body has been keeping score of every feeling that was told it was too much. Every moment of genuine emotion that got swallowed. Every time you said, "I'm fine," when you were not fine. The tears that come easily now are not a sign that you are falling apart. They are a sign that your body is finally, carefully, letting things move through. The cost of having been shamed for your depth shows up in specific ways. At work, you feel things that your colleagues seem to glide past. Unfairness, unkindness, the energy of a room. And you carry that weight home while they seem unbothered. In relationships, you love deeply and feel the gaps and silences between people as almost physical things. You know when something is wrong before anyone says it, and sometimes that knowing is isolating because you are carrying information that no one else seems to have. Alone, at night, you feel everything that got postponed during the day. The scroll at 2 in the morning is sometimes just this, your system finally getting quiet enough to process what you felt but couldn't show. And you lie there wondering if there is something wrong with you. There is not. There is something rare about you. You might find yourself crying at things that seem small. This is the part that most psychology channels completely skip. And it's the most important part. A kind gesture from a stranger, a piece of music that captures something you couldn't name, a moment of unexpected beauty. That is not instability. That is attunement. Your system recognizes truth, and it responds to it. You might find yourself deeply affected by news, by other people's suffering, by injustice in the world. Not because you are weak, because your capacity for empathy has no off switch. That is extraordinary, even when it is exhausting. You might find yourself apologizing for your tears, even now, saying sorry for feeling something in front of someone. That apology is old. It belongs to the version of you that was taught your feelings were an inconvenience. It does not belong to who you actually are. You might find that you process things more slowly than others, that you need more time after difficult experiences, more quiet, more space to let something move through. That is not oversensitivity. That is depth of processing. It takes longer to feel something fully than to skim its surface. You might find that your depth makes it hard to connect with people who live mostly at the surface. Not impossible, but harder. And the loneliness of that is real. None of this is who you are as a problem. It is who you are as a gift that was never properly received. Healing for you begins with something deceptively simple: stopping the apology, not performing the stop, actually deciding, in small moments and then larger ones, that your emotional depth does not require your shame. Nervous system regulation is part of this. Not to dampen your sensitivity, but to give it a container. Learning to breathe through the wave of feeling without immediately suppressing it or being overwhelmed by it. Letting the emotion rise, move, and complete itself. Crying when you need to cry, not apologizing for it afterward. Learning to identify safe people is part of this too. People who do not flinch when you feel, who do not interpret your tears as manipulation or instability, who receive your depth as the gift it is, instead of something to manage. They exist. You may not have met many of them yet, but they are the ones worth building your world around. And softness as survival, the understanding that staying open, staying feeling, staying connected to your own emotional truth in a world that keeps asking you to harden is one of the most quietly courageous things a person can do. Rumi wrote, "I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. It opens. I've been knocking from the inside. Your depth, your tears, your capacity to feel what others skip past. That is not the door being broken. That is the door being open, from the inside, by someone who never fully let the world close it. The goal is not to be fixed. It is to become whole. You are not too much. You are exactly enough. And you are part of a community of deeply feeling people who have spent too long apologizing for the very thing that makes them extraordinary. The ones who cry at songs, who feel the room shift before anyone speaks, who love so completely it sometimes leaves them breathless. You are not alone in this. Tell me in the comments, has your sensitivity ever been called a weakness by someone who just couldn't hold the depth of it?